sisterly rivalries, renown, and loss. However, what recently came to light might be the most unsettling episode too far, because this time, it's not a producer, blogger, or dubious insider who is revealing the flaws. It's blood. Family is involved. And it comes from the one person no one thought would speak up so loudly. As fans continued to lament Traci Braxton's absence late last night, her son came forward with remarks that the internet was abruptly frozen. It's not an ambiguous tweet or a cryptic comment, but rather direct accusations that pierce the refined legacy that the Braxtons have spent years defending. In a matter of minutes, group chats were quiet, timelines erupted, and one query resounded everywhere. How much of the truth about this family have we been denied access to? Because it's being claimed that Traci's suffering didn't begin or end with the cameras. It existed in private discussions. It developed behind closed doors, which could account for years of stress, alienation, and emotional scars that fans always felt but were never completely revealed. It's not simply what is being stated that makes this moment so explosive. It's also when, following Traci's passing, after years of silence, after the family attempted to move on without reliving old wounds, and now, those wounds are being torn open in real time by someone who claims he is done shielding those who never shielded his mother. Strength, sisterhood, and survival have always been central to the Braxton tradition. However, that image is trembling tonight. Furthermore, once these claims are made public, they cannot be retracted. The Braxton family was closely monitored by the public for many years. There were loud laughs, violent altercations, and reconciliations, emotive enough to convince viewers that blood always prevailed. Know of how chaotic things got beneath the shiny exterior of reality TV. However, there was usually one sister who appeared to be pushed to the side, out of frame, or unheard. Braxton Traci. Long before they could identify it, fans sensed it. Traci's uncomfortable pauses, the way she didn't finish her remarks as the talk went on, the times when jokes went a bit too far and everyone else laughed but her. It was edited as banter on screen. Those who say they were close to the family say it happened off screen. It was a completely different thing. And now, years after Tra's death, her son is stating what his mom was never able to. Quietly, it began. A couple slides from an Instagram story were uploaded late at night. Just words. No dramatic music, no eye-catching images. Heavy, straight, and raw. He refrained from naming names. Initially, he didn't have to. Everyone understood exactly who he was referring to. The show was a hit with all of you. One slide was read, however, my mother experienced the scenes that were removed. That one sentence was shocking. Ripples through Braxton's fanbase because things that individuals had previously dismissed felt different all of a sudden. Traci was made fun of for wanting to sing during that notorious dinner. She sat quietly and stiffly on the reunion couch with her eyes downcast. Scenes in which she was portrayed as tough, resentful, and jealous. That story wasn't coincidental. According to her son, it was practical. According to insiders who have worked with the family, Traci was frequently handled like an outsider long before the cameras came on. Not because she was untalented, she didn't fit into the established structure. Not because she didn't belong. The star was Tony, the firecracker was Tamar. Trina and Tawanda performed their parts. Additionally, Traci served as a reminder of a history that the family wished to avoid. According to her son, Traci harbored intense animosity because she felt erased rather than because she was jealous. He asserts that during private discussions, Traci genuinely pleaded to be regarded as more than the other sister or comedic relief. She was also called the issue each time she raised her voice. Traci frequently sobbed after filming days, according to an unnamed family acquaintance. Not tears can be dramatic, muted, or hidden in the bathroom to avoid being accused of being overly sensitive. This source claims that Traci once said, "If I react, I'm crazy. If I stay quiet, I disappear." Her son has made other accusations. He asserts that Traci was purposefully left out of some financial decisions, opportunities she learnt about after the fact, deals discussed without her knowledge. He claims that despite the family's public declarations of unity, the truth remains selective allegiance. You were expelled from the system if you questioned it. The claim that Traci internalized it may be the most hurtful of all. She began to accept the version of herself that the public saw all the time. The extra, the envious sister, the challenging sister. Her son claims that she carried that emotional burden with her everywhere, including her health issues. Fans have long conjectured that Traci's illness had a negative emotional impact, but her son says it went deeper. He suggests that she was weakened in ways that no one ever recognized by years of emotional seclusion, stress, and rejection. He said that she was battling more than cancer. She was struggling to feel important. Just that one sentence altered everything. Old clips started to reappear almost quickly. Fans began piecing together painful yet innocuous moments. They appeared ruthless now. Traci was interrupted in the middle of her sentence by Tamar. scenes in which Traci's thoughts were disregarded. She was portrayed as the odd one out in confessionals. With people rewatching, social media became a virtual courtroom. Incidents similar to tapes of evidence. Despite their reputation for swiftly addressing controversy, the Braxton family remained silent. That quiet just encouraged conjecture. Was this avoidance or respect? According to insiders, the family was taken aback because the anguish was finally being expressed rather than because it wasn't genuine, loudly by a person they found difficult to discredit. Traci frequently disagreed with how she was portrayed on the show, but she was urged to trust the process, that the public would eventually understand her, and that all would work out. According to a person close to production. According to her son, Mom spent years waiting for that balance. It never materialized. Traci allegedly felt she had to make a decision between her family and her dignity behind closed doors. Stay silent and survive, or speak up and face complete exile. Emotionally damaged, her kid claims that the decision she made to survive cost her more than anyone can ever acknowledge. Fans who identified with Traci responded in droves as these accusations gained traction. Older sisters who were neglected. Women were instructed to keep silent in order to maintain harmony. Mothers who endured suffering in order to make their families appear entire. The Braxton was no longer the only topic of discussion. They were angry, emotional, and personal. And just when it seemed like the charges couldn't get any more serious, Traci's son made another suggestion. He claimed to have been advised not to discuss it. He says there was a moment that went too far from emotional disregard to downright treachery. He hasn't yet explained it. The incident was not named by him. He just finished one post with a terrifying statement. "I'll tell you all what truly broke her one day," and that was the end of it all. If the Braxton legacy has already been rocked by what has been made public, then whatever he is withholding could entirely destroy it. Nothing seemed the same once that last statement was posted online. After freezing, the comment sections erupted. Fans often refreshed his page, waiting for the next article as if it were a verdict that was still being loaded. The environment around the Braxton family changed in a way that had never happened before, even if they stayed mute in public. It wasn't only a sibling issue. Rivalry no longer exists. This has to do with heritage and whose suffering was erased in order to preserve it. Traci's son didn't just wake up one day and decide to talk. According to several others who are currently speaking anonymously, for years, he had been sitting with this, watching his mother smile while swallowing disappointment. Despite being aware that she wasn't entirely welcome, she continued to attend family gatherings because she didn't want her son to experience the same rejection that she had. Traci would reply, "I'll take the hit so my baby doesn't have to." According to an unnamed family acquaintance, that comment alone reframed everything. According to insiders, the Braxton family's true conflict wasn't always audible. It was deliberate and silent. It was evident in who was asked to brainstorming sessions, included in meetings, and kept informed about opportunity prior to contracts being signed, and who was informed afterward. These assertions suggest that Traci was frequently the last to know. According to her son, Traci was redirected rather than completely discouraged when she attempted to express herself creatively. The lane isn't that. Later, perhaps. Let's concentrate on what is effective. Those sentences add up over time. Without ever expressing it clearly, they tell you where you stand. Speaking on condition of anonymity, one former production assistant said there were times when Traci submitted ideas that were rejected, only to later resurface under a different name. The effect was the same whether it was deliberate or not. The effect was the same whether it was deliberate or not. Traci felt used, interchangeable, and invisible. And after that, there's the money problem. Her son has consistently implied that the family's wealth disparity wasn't an accident. He says that in order to maintain family harmony, Traci was frequently under pressure to take less, that raising concerns about compensation or ownership was shown as betrayal, avarice, and resentment. They gave her the impression that requesting justice was an assault on the family. He wrote in a comment that has since been removed. Fans started making assumptions regarding contracts, royalties, and the show's long-term profits. Why did Traci occasionally appear to have financial difficulties while the family's brand was growing? Why, in comparison to others, did her solitary endeavors feel underfunded and unsupported? The questions accumulated more quickly than the responses. The mother, who was the most uncomfortable part, followed. Evelyn Braxton has consistently been portrayed as the authority, the matriarch, and the glue. However, Traci's son speculates that the interaction might have been far more nuanced. He would suggest that Traci felt the least protected by the person who ought to have stood up for her the most. That partiality was generational rather than merely Traci allegedly once said, "If mama doesn't choose you, the rest don't," according to a purported private message that has gone viral online. Whether true or not, that statement struck a chord with those who had spent years observing the family dynamic and who saw how frequently Traci was corrected, and how infrequently she was validated. Someone close to Traci claimed that she believed the family narrative required her to be the issue so everyone else could stay together. The warning story, the scapegoat. Traci was aware that if she was portrayed as challenging, no one else would need to consider their actions. According to her son, she frequently discussed it at home, not out of rage, with fatigue. According to him, she wondered if it was important to disclose the truth, if doing so would mean losing her remaining familial ties. She ultimately opted for silence, which, in his opinion, gradually shattered her spirit. Since, as these assertions gained traction, responses from the larger Braxton circle started to surface. Not overt declarations, covert actions, unfollows, removed images, or subtly disabled comments. Fans always take notice. Additionally, each tiny change to digital technology seemed to suggest that there was more going on behind closed doors. Then came the rumor of the audio leak. It has not been verified by anyone. Nobody has refuted it either. There is purportedly a recording of years ago. Traci had a private family chat in which someone laughed while she sobbed, ignored her worries in real time, and told her she was doing too much. Although her son hasn't made it public, he hasn't denied its existence either. All he said was, "Y'all longtime watchers shuddered at that line alone. Heard what they wanted you to hear." Because all of a sudden, fans were relisting rather than just rewatching scenes. Every tone, every pause, every roll of the eyes. What once felt like a drama on reality TV, but now it felt more like documentation. The family continued to remain silent. According to insiders, intense discussions are currently taking place. Lawyers advising silence, PR teams considering reactions, and phones ringing since answering could support the assertions. But if you don't say anything, they can continue to grow. Meanwhile, Traci's son seems unfazed by the pressure. Once more, he made a more intimate post. He mentioned observing his mother. At family get-togethers, smile despite your misery. In order to avoid upsetting anyone, she would practice what she was about to say and apologize for feelings to which she had every right. He wrote that she loved them more than she loved herself. They were aware of it. Something was shattered by that statement. After years of supporting the family, fans started to change their minds. The story felt uncannily familiar. Not because they suddenly detested the Braxton families that sacrifice an individual in order to preserve their reputation. Mothers who bring up daughters into roles they will never be able to transition out of. Rather of sharing affection, sisters compete for it. Traci's son concluded the evening with one last post, just as the internet was at its most emotional. No justification, no context, just a caution. I stopped defending those who had never defended her tomorrow. After that, he logged off, leaving behind a family saga that seems far from complete and a legacy that is hanging by a thread. The atmosphere on the internet felt different the following morning. It was heavier and quieter, like immediately before something blows up, in anticipation of whether Traci Braxton's son would carry out the warning he left hanging. Fans woke up and refreshed time. Additionally, behind the scenes, according to now that there were several rumors going around. The Braxton family was in full crisis mode. They couldn't write this off as a tabloid leak. This wasn't a click-chasing blogger, it was family. Even worse, family members were speaking from sorrow, from memory, as well as years of witnessing his mother endure suffering that he was never permitted to really describe. According to insiders, the calls began early, with family members checking in on one another. Some advisors are advocating for a united statement, while others are recommending moderation and contending that any reaction would just fuel an already uncontrollably raging fire. According to a person close to the incident, there was so much stress that long-running group discussions stopped. Just read receipts and unanswered messages, no jokes, no Traci's son hasn't posted yet. More harm was done by that quiet than by any charge. Fans started filling in the blanks on their own. Traci's words from earlier interviews came to light, about being the odd man out, talk show clips that she dismissed, remarks that were no longer lighthearted but rather there were times when she expressed her desire for peace above all else, even if it meant swallowing her truth. The realization of how frequently Trey apologized for existing too loudly or too honestly struck a chord with many people. Apologized for being upset, for wanting more, and for things that, looking back, she shouldn't have had to explain. The private texts followed. A number of fan accounts stated that they received messages from people claiming to have personally known Traci. It's close enough to see the flaws, yet not close enough to be in the inner circle. She was constantly attempting to keep everyone together. According to one message, even when it was her who was bleeding, she used to remark, "If I quit, they'll believe I gave up," recalled another. "They'll say I grumble if I stay." None of these communications were confirmed. Therefore, there was no winner.